Follow the dilapidated rural backwater ship brown brick trail. Follow the dilapidated rural backwater ship brown brick trail. Follow, 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 follow the dilapidated rural backwater ship brown brick trail. Where are all the Munchkins? Everything Sequel presents the return to Oz Watchalong.
Oh my goodness. Can I ask you something right off the bat?
Please.
When you wrote that,
Yeah.
did you practice it? Did you think you could be able to do it?
It's one of those it's one of those things that
Hearing it for the first time right now, I'm like, I couldn't have done that.
As a performer, I'm sure you know, there's some things you can do like live
Right.
when you have no choice that you cannot
Yes.
do in rehearsal. And it's definitely one of those. Rehearsing it, I was stumbling over my words. But as
Okay.
soon as I see that little record light, something changes in me.
Yep.
And
That I know
and
well.
I'm able to do it, yeah.
That's great.
And I mean, you know, that is the equivalent of the Yellow Brick Road in this film.
If you say so.
They refer to it as a yellow brick road, but dilapidated rural backwater ship brown brick trail is the the correct nomenclature from my perspective as the viewer. Seems like everyone on screen thinks it's a yellow brick road, but you know, it's it looks like somewhere where a hillbilly's going to kill you. That's what it looks like to me.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Another Everything Sequel watch along,
Yeah,
and we're going Return to Oz.
we are. Yeah, and let's start off. What's your history with this movie, if indeed any history?
So glad you asked.
Yeah.
Never saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it before, and I've seen it, you know, I've seen it in the past few days, as is traditional for us on the watch alone. But I
Yeah,
saw
you
it
watch them and I don't.
right,
That's the
and
shtick.
I had seen this before, which is also a bit an inversion of what normally happens on the
Right?
podcast. Um, so I'd seen it as a late teen, I think. And going back to it, I remember thinking it can't possibly be as terrifying as I remember it being as a late teen. And I got to tell you, it's worse. It's worse than I remember it. I was remembering a lightness that was not there,
That wasn't present.
a lightness and a charm that just simply is not present in this movie.
Now,
So, yeah. I mean, is what do you know about this
so I
film?
was gonna say, so my my only kind of recollection of it, I think for one, it's weird for me to not have seen this movie.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to think, like, would I have been pretentious enough at that age to say, you can't make a sequel to The Wizard of Oz? I'm not watching
right.
that, you know?
Sure.
It's possible. I don't know. But but my recollection of the movie is that it has a reputation as being a terrible sequel.
I would say more terrifying than terrible.
Okay.
And more horrifying than horrible. I'm gonna leave that part of it leave that part of it open. But I
The
mean,
other part is it part of it is because this is not The Wiz.
right, the so well, yeah, the Wiz is sort of I guess a reboot,
Okay.
an early reboot of Wizard of Oz. Um, no, it's not. It's so. What's quite interesting is you hit on something right away, which we need context that we need to know about this film and why we're doing it on the watch
Right.
along. This is not a sequel to the movie The Wizard of Oz. For legal reasons, it is a
Okay.
sequel to L. Frank Baum's Oz book series.
Okay.
Because what the reason I picked this movie is because it's an unofficial sequel.
Hmm.
And I wanted to do one of those on the watch along because one of our criteria for watch along movies is
Right.
a
Yeah.
sequel that's difficult to categorize, and so I wanted to do something from this genre of sequels.
All right.
Um, and what makes it unofficial? Firstly, the original was an MGM production. MGM were not involved in the production of this movie.
Okay.
The reason Disney were able to make this movie is because they bought the rights to the L. Frank Baum Oz book series
Catalog.
in 1954
Okay.
for use in the anthology series Disneyland, which never materialized, and so there's there's a 4.5 decade gap, and then in the early 80s Disney realized the rights are about to expire.
Oh, okay.
So
It's like a Spider-Man situation.
it's a Spider-Man situation, it's a Hellraiser Revelation
Right.
situation. We've encountered that before. So they decide they're going to make a live action movie, but there are certain legal hurdles there. They can't use anything that was introduced in the Wizard of Oz movie that didn't previously appear in the books. So
Right.
they paid through the nose so they could use the ruby slippers.
Wow.
So basically, yeah, they had to license the ruby slippers because those don't appear in the books; they're only in the movie, and they wanted to have that little nugget of continuity between the two movies.
Man.
But everything else, they're kind of skirting around the legality of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see this. What's great about this is it's all on screen. You'll see what we call characters, how characters look. All of it has clearly been worked over by a lawyer.
That's fantastic.
This is the difference between Sabak and the Han Solo card game, right? One is this is this movie is the Han Solo card game. And obviously, that 4.5 decade gap.
I want to say, am I right? Is this like 1985?
1985, yeah. The original
Okay.
was 39.
Yeah.
And so obviously what that means is you've got an entirely new cast, which is
Right.
another kind of illegitimacy. But because you can't use the incarnation of the characters that were in the original movie, they wisely, I think, decided to basically use a whole different set of characters and have the legacy characters around the fringes of the movie as much as possible.
I seem to recall somebody with a pumpkin head.
Oh, absolutely, and the decor speaks to that. And you'll see
all right.
you'll see a proto version of Jack Skellington in this movie. A mere
That's
8 years
fantastic.
before Tim Burton would write The Nightmare Before Christmas,
Yeah, I like it.
which is also Disney. So again,
Yeah, right.
licensing not a problem. Um, Tim Burton was doing the inverse, where he was like taking something that already belonged to Disney and then reframing it within another Disney movie.
Sure.
That's what. So this was made so that the rights wouldn't expire. It was conceived as a sequel to the book series, not to the original MGM movie. And another of our criteria is that these movies that we pick are somehow difficult to watch. This was a critical and commercial failure, kind of notably so. Reviews were more mixed than
Okay.
bad, but I think pretty much every review noted that they were surprised about how extreme it was tonally compared to the original movie. Another reason why you might find this movie difficult to watch, why you might need some hand-holding, some commentary from us, is that it really does grain against the original design, tone, and style of a beloved MGM original. One of the most iconic, beloved movies in American cinema. And
Yeah.
this is really marking itself out as the complete opposite of that. So it's fascinating in that respect. And I'd also say, it's Disney is a Disney is a children's movie brand. Wizard
Right.
of Oz is a children's movie to a large extent. Adults get a lot out of it, but it's
Yeah.
basically made for children. The content of this movie is entirely unsuitable for children.
Hmm.
I mean, I have
But
no other way to say it. It's
but
not.
there is something, because in the 1980s,
Hmm. Hmm.
you wouldn't have other movies that you would call entirely unsuitable for children, but lots of Disney movies went dark.
Well, this is it. I mean, because the other
So
crap,
what you're saying is this goes beyond the pale of like just dark?
it feels more. It feels more deliberately going in that direction than some of
Mm,
the other movies that we've talked about, and that's where the release date of this movie is crucial. 1985, as we've said.
mhm.
Um, Peak dark Disney, right? This is like we've talked about this before with the Rescuers
Yeah, right.
and Basil the Great Mouse Detective, the Black Cauldron. I mean, this is as dark as Disney has been since the late 1930s, right?
Right.
Where, you know, there are obvious reasons why you might get a bit dark in that period of time.
Sure.
A lot going on the world is surrounded in darkness in the late 1930s. I don't need to tell you why. Um, but in the 80s it comes back in force, and I have an operational theory about this. I think, and this movie really crystallized it for me,
Mm.
is that I think what we're seeing is this, that in the kind of mid 80s, the slasher is starting to seep into children's entertainment.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
the slasher's been around for like 10 years by
That
this
makes
time.
sense.
74 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's become mainstream to the point where it's starting to enter into other genres that which wouldn't
Yeah.
previously have been affected by it. And the best example I can think of this, apart from this movie, is in terms of the horrification of children's entertainment, is Little House on the Prairie, which this movie really reminds me of,
Mm.
and famously had a slasher-based episode, a special episode, which Michael Landon, producer star of, deliberately was like, "Hey, let's do a slasher. Let's have a clown rapist who's going around, attacking women in
I do
darkened
not remember
corners."
the clown rapist episode
There's
of
a
Little
clown rape, yeah,
House
exactly,
on
and
the Prairie.
you watch any clip from it and you go, "Oh, this is pulling from Halloween. This is pulling
Yeah,
from
right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre." And Michael Landon, in
Just
interviews said,
yeah,
"This is what we're trying to do. This is what entertainment is now. We want to reflect that." Um,
fantastic.
so this is my operational theory, is like is kind of the horrification of children's cinema that is kind of bubbling around this time, and Disney is at the heart of that. Um, it's also amazing to be one of the reasons I think this movie failed is that it was released on June 21st, which is so it's a summer release, right?
Yeah, that's not
This when you watch this movie, you go, I'd say,
the
when
wrong
would you release
time.
this movie? Halloween or
Yeah,
Christmas?
yeah.
Like, it's a holiday movie. It's full of that, that kind of malevolence works
Right.
well for a Halloween or a holiday movie. It is not a summer release.
All right.
Actually, the only person who might think that it is was also a consultant on this movie. So, and that
Well,
is our old friend, Mr. George Lucas,
oh
who consulted
my.
on this movie. I
Well,
think
that
specifically
that
to
just
tell
took a
them,
turn.
I think specifically to tell Walter Murch how you turn a child-friendly franchise into a horror movie, which he had done the year before with Temple of Doom.
Right.
So, yeah,
You got
that's
any monkey brains in there?
Monkey Brains. No,
No, I'm just speaking
but
as George Lucas to the
oh,
producers
oh,
of this
I
movie.
see. Yeah, I think he would have been. I think he would have been happy with what he saw coming off the set of Temple of Doom. I
Oh
think he
yeah.
would have. He would have seen the giant pumpkin man and be like, "Yeah, you're on the right track here." The thing to do is to cut away to that abruptly,
That's
without
great.
any context.
Well, that yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say. Oh
Um,
my.
and obviously, you know, they were making the movie in a rush because they had no choice. So I
Mhm.
really I couldn't find out exactly when the rights expired, but um they it must have been
Must have been in the
some
summer.
June 22nd,
Yeah.
1985 was when the rights expired. I couldn't find out what the exact date of that was, but they, you know, from basically throughout the 80s they were going, you know, it's shit I'll get off the pot for the for an Oz sequel.
Wow.
So they did it, and that, and you know, that also explains why it is not necessarily in the spirit of the Wizard of Oz,
Mhm.
in the same way a movie that had been planned over a certain number of years could have been.
Mhm.
This feels like a knee jerk response to the Wizard of Oz.
It feels rushed.
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't have a beef with this movie at the level of production value.
Okay.
Um, it feels like an angry riposte to the Wizard of Oz. I kind of know the way. And you know, over the years, a lot of people have kind of tried to reconcile the two. You know, using drug analogies. The original was a good trip. This is the bad trip.
Mhm.
I kind of like that. I like that idea. Disney as a studio was in crisis at the time. Walter Murch was briefly fired during production, the director, and then reinstated. So I
Mm.
don't think it was the most comfortable
Working
uh,
environment.
working environment for
Yeah.
anyone here. Um, so that's where, yeah, that's where we are. Return to Oz.
Well, I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to. Those are that's all what happened, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy this movie in its own right, you know?
Mhm.
It's and I think you should. You just it going in with the idea this is a sequel to a famous children's book series,
Yeah.
as opposed to the Technicolor 30s movie version of that, is crucial.
Right.
That's where you have to adjust your expectations.
Mhm.
Not in terms of, you know, uh what we normally look for in a film, because it's got a lot to offer, I would
Okay.
say.
It's
Yeah,
very exciting.
there it is.
Um, I mean, anything left for you before? Well, we should tell our listeners we are watching this on Disney Plus.
Yes.
So get ready there for the
Hmm.
countdown. I always feel like we fuck up our countdown. Do we mess it up every time? Do you notice that? I always
Do we
notice I I always hit a button and then maybe 5 minutes down the road you will
realize?
say something that makes me realize that I'm behind or ahead in some way, shape, or fashion.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need more of a lethal weapon kind of. Is it on one or is it three, two, one, and then go?
Okay. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, go,
All right.
and then we'll press the other thing is getting these players back to
To
the
yeah.
very start, because what I have now is half a castle.
Mine is just a black screen, I think.
Yeah, I tried to get back to that, but I couldn't. So maybe you should go on 1, and then I'll go on 0,
That's good.
and
Uh
then hopefully the toilet bomb won't explode.
yeah, there you go. Well, are we ready?
Yeah, I mean, that's about all the context I can give you for this film. You just need to see it to believe it at this point,
Yeah.
especially if you've never seen it before. You have no
You know what kept
context.
happening to me too? You told me what, a couple weeks ago we were going to do this
Hmm.
film, and I kept thinking of The Wiz. I kept thinking I'll see Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, and then I'm like, wait,
Nope.
no, it's not that movie.
You
It's a
won't even you will barely see the characters they're playing.
but it was just funny that in my mind, there are two, well, now three with the James Franco kind of
Yeah.
Return to Oz, or what's that called? The Great and
Oz
Powerful Oz.
the great and powerful Oz. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's been a few attempts to reboot.
Yeah.
And obviously Wicked is
Sure.
you know, uh, have they
Have we
made a movie
gotten?
of that yet?
I don't think we've gotten a screen version of that though, have we?
Maybe on television, but I don't think on
Yeah.
one of those um live
Yeah. Not
specials,
with
which are
Jamie
mostly
Foxx.
commercials.
Yeah.
They've managed to pare down feature
Right.
length musicals to like 10 minutes so that you can watch hemorrhoid ads
That's good.
for an hour and 20 minutes. And that's interesting because, this is very much a franchise killer. We talk about that a
Mm,
lot. And 85, it's another 20 plus years before anyone goes back to Oz
sure.
cinematically.
Do you have a sense of the fallout? Was it this
Yeah, I mean, it did
mess of a
horribly.
movie? Yeah.
Yeah, it did horribly commercially. Critics either didn't like it or didn't know what to make of it. Um, it's achieved a cult following in retrospect,
I want to look that up.
which I
Ooh.
understand. Oh, it was very. I was to say it was popular in Europe, which is no surprise when you
Of
watch.
course.
This movie is one of the most gothic movies you've ever seen.
All right.
So it's no surprise that the 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 Europeans love it.
Oh, it says June 23rd, 1985, the release. That's my brother's birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. But budget of 25 million, opening weekend of 2.8. Oof. And 11 million in the USA and the world. Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's especially not for a Disney product, but
Yeah,
so yeah, no one knew what to do after this.
sure.
And I guess, when everything, I suppose when everything's being rebooted, MGM are just like, well, what about this,
Hmm.
Was that, I don't know, I mean, it was MGM. They went back to MGM, not Disney, right? Disney don't currently own the Oz franchise, I don't think, do they?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look that up in real time.
All right.
Let me see. Oz the Great and Powerful. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Oh, definitely not the prison drama Oz, which is the first thing that came. Yeah, that was a much darker reboot than even
I'll
this.
say yes.
It
We're gonna
reminds
do
me
the
of
Wizard of Oz. We're gonna set it in a prison.
Oh, well, 2013. It's even later than I thought. Can I see who produced it? Oh, Sam Raimi directed it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I've forgotten that. So it's not hard to find the studio. Of course, it's a prequel.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. Yes, it is Disney.
Okay.
Okay, so it stayed with Disney. So in some senses, this was a means to an end, so they could hold on to. I guess by 2013, they're on the way to just owning everything, almost
Right.
accidentally.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
they probably didn't even know they owned it.
Sure, we'll take Star Wars.
It's.
For fuck's sake.
I learned recently, and it's related because George Lucas was a consultant on this movie. I learned recently that when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney,
Mhm.
in the pitch meeting where he was like, "This is what we were going to do next," and you can,
Yeah.
we're selling everything, so you can have our pitches for new Star Wars, most of which they ignored. But Solo was his baby.
Mm.
And he particularly, he said, we're thinking about making this Han Solo movie, and he described a scene pretty much verbatim where Han Solo gets his name.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was the executives were like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely taking that," and I love that because Coppola must have been like, "That's just The Godfather too." Like George Lucas has got it's like he's trying to sell He's trying to sell Star Wars to Disney, and he's just
They
using.
were all friends.
It was. I know. It's just Coppola's like that's what sealed the deal.
That's great.
It's like, of course they like it. It's from one of the best movies I've ever
made. All right. Well, let's get on with
Speaking
it.
of darker sequels, let's return to Oz.
Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, do you want to count us down?
I will.
And you remember, you're going on 1, I'm going on 0.
All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, the Walt Disney logo.
Do you have nostalgia for that logo?
A lot of childhood trauma, but especially when it's in complete silence. But I do associate it with childhood fear.
Right.
These shimmering emerald green titles are about as close to the original as we ever get.
Okay. Oh, are we starting off in a shack in outer space? What was happening?
Yeah, outer space. Well, we're picking up exactly where we left off, I suppose, at the end of Wizard of Oz. Except that Dorothy is now the correct age and visibly traumatized.
It's all, what the fuck just happened to me?
Yeah, it really is.
Nightmares, baby. That's interesting in and of itself that they went so much younger. I mean, that's a choice, you know? Oh man, that lamp. I mean, it doesn't look just like it, but it looks like a lamp I grew up with.
Electric Healing's my favorite late 60s prog folk group. You know, it's not doing much for the horrification of your franchise by replacing Auntie M with Carrie's mother.
Oh man, this really is dark.
I know. We sort of retconned the ending of the original, you know, the happy ending, because this is an aftermath sequel now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Dorothy talking about Oz is gonna get it committed.
Exactly.
Now, tell me, how does this farm look drearier than it did in monochrome?
Toto, the dog we all loved, is now trying to eat chickens. That's great.
Remember how I saved you from that witch? Now I don't care about you because you're from the movie, not the book. Also, Toto is a different breed of dog from the original movie. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a lawyer came in and said, "Well, you know, he's not a Yorkshire Terrier in the book, so
you can't have that." Oh man, Toto.
Yeah, that's that must have been a big blow for the fans of the original that Toto's a totally different breed of dog. And that Dorothy actually looks like she's 13, not
right.
The 25-year-old glamour puss.
Well, she can spell. Because I'm crazy.
It's not just the casting. Auntie M has taken a dark turn in
Yeah,
characterization.
just that flat saying her name, Dorothy.
I think it's a deliberate callback to Carrie, if anything. I don't think you
Hmm.
cast Piper Laurie in 1985 without going for some of that.
Considering it at
Yeah.
least.
And all she really cares about is Dorothy's ability to work on the farm. Like,
Child labor.
yeah. I like how they're rebuilding the house from the tornado.
Yeah.
It's a very aftermath sequel kind of quality.
Choice.
It's interesting because depression was in the background of the original.
Uh-huh.
Here, it's like this is clearly the depression.
Yeah. I'd like to know how Toto got to that point, where it was even open a little bit.
We can't use you. Legally, we can't use you, Toto. We're already pushing it.
Even Toto is sad in this movie.
Yeah, Toto, and also Toto's now playing the role of a dog in a horror movie, trying to warn the humans about terrible things to come. Doesn't this feel like a gothic western, like
Hmm.
a movie that Clint Eastwood would have made
I
in
was
the
just
mid
gonna say,
'70s,
like the start of Unforgiven.
or even High Plains Drifter?
Yeah,
It's just fucking so bleak. Nice torn American flag there. That's a great,
right.
fucking great symbol.
Does Auntie M go with her in this movie?
To Oz, no.
All right.
Now this house looks just very 1980s to me.
Hmm.
When you take out the monochrome, everything kind of looks like what it is now.
Yeah.
Here he is, the Gnome King. That's who I'm dressed as.
There you go. Ah, you got the pipe.
It's one of my favorite parts of the
Shut
film,
up,
like
little girl.
recanting the first film, like to make it sound like psychotic ramblings, which to be
Yeah,
fair is not hard to do.
right.
Which we paid a lot of money for, so we're gonna
Uh-huh.
mention them as often as possible.
Yeah. Well, they didn't come with me. Stupid.
So we're sort of retconning that it was a dream.
Yeah, right. I was just like formulating that in my head.
The key.
Hmm.
and create a few new ones.
What's happening here? Are they gonna make Murphy her?
Yep, it's an electroshock therapy machine.
It's the part that hurts the most.
It's like in this period of Disney, it's not enough just to bring out an electroshock therapy machine. They've got to turn it into a monster face. Like, how much do you want to terrify children here?
With Carrie Mom like rubbing her hands, like, yes, yes, give it to her.
This is where I think this is pure horror film, because horror films, good horror movie filmmaking makes you scared of your everyday surroundings. This movie makes you afraid of electricity.
I get it. You're torturers. You understand why I'm leaving you here, right?
Made of electricity.
Or maybe the next day.
That was a wise move. Why are you changing that rule now? I realize now that I'm emotionally attached to you.
Shall we cook her, Doctor?
It's
Oh no. Squeaky bed.
Dorothy's guardians and the doctor and nurse she's currently with, scarier than any villain in the original. And we're not even in Oz yet.
Right.
Exactly. This is all in the real world.
Squeaky gurney going down the hall. It's like the end of Frighteners.
It is, yeah. Again, it's like horror movie rules, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the sound of Freddy's fingers. Ironic. Yes. I mean, a year before as well.
Yeah, right.
Although something's about to happen, which I think it cannot be argued that it's a reference to a slasher movie. What's about to happen? You've seen Halloween, right? This is like a mashup of Halloween and The Innocents. You ever seen that with the Robert Wise movie? Haddonfield.
Yeah.
That is such a Michael Myers pumpkin right there.
Right?
And they know that. This is 85. They understand what they're doing.
that skirt rustling, that was ominous.
That's what I mean. It's like the sound design is as horrific as the innocence.
Yeah.
Yeah, combing a carved pumpkin
Combing.
in the middle of a thunderstorm. Couldn't really be creepier if you tried, could it? Do you think that was Lucas's note? I wanted to comb the
Why
pumpkin.
don't you comb the pumpkin? Oh, already afraid of electricity.
Ah,
They haven't even given her the
they
business yet.
haven't even touched her.
Now, is the blonde girl a little ghost? Because she keeps appearing and disappearing.
Yeah, her identity will be revealed.
All right.
So I won't spoil it for you or the viewers at home or wherever you are in your car. I wouldn't do this in your. I wouldn't try and watch a movie and us in your car while you're driving.
Now I'm good.
Not to us, but to get your brain shocked.
Here's what I hope happens. I hope they electrocute her a little bit, and I hope she starts swirling in the air and just leaves. And they're like, holy shit.
I bet that doesn't happen, but I bet they talked about it, and I suspect that's the reason Walter Murch was briefly fired. I think his return was conditional on that not happening.
Good point. But you're strapped now, so
It's sort of it's funny that you mentioned Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah,
Because that's the major pop cultural precedent for this. And I
yeah.
like the idea they were like, how do we work in Cuckoo's Nest into a kid's film?
Put a face on the box.
Oh. Hey, look, it's electric face.
Oh, shut up.
We're just said with
You know
no
what?
irony, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. You know what it's
He's
playing
strapped
out
to a
like?
stretcher.
It's playing out like the beginning of a Simpsons Halloween episode.
Absolutely.
Now, every once in a while, we set hair on fire, but we're really hoping that doesn't happen tonight. What, they're going to zap her cheeks?
This is music you can listen to so you don't hear the answers. You've all seen Family Feud.
So is this monstrous doctor character? He's the one you identify with as you are
Clearly.
dressed like
Well,
him?
he's the one whose clothes I seem to own.
I was so looking forward to this. Damn it.
You know? Yes, at some point, the sound editor decided the best background noise would be the screams of the other
Of
inmates.
other patients.
I'm not going to do the voice, but this does prescribe to Apu's uh, room, the room with electricity that has too much electricity. That's what's happened here.
I'll say.
Don't worry about them.
Yeah.
I wonder if that dialogue was written before or after they decided to put the screaming in. In other words, just how dark is this incredibly dark film? That plinky plonk children's music isn't going to help anything.
Right? Uh-oh. So
What's our end game here?
yeah, right?
I mean, I was knocked unconscious by a tornado, but now I'm running through woods at night during a thunderstorm being chased by an evil nurse.
Uh-oh.
And now some rapids.
Right?
Really putting Dorothy through the ringer here.
When the rapids are preferable to you.
I'd rather deal with electricity in its natural form. Thank you very much.
Oh no. We've got a Jack and Rose situation
I was
here.
just gonna say, you beat me to it. And once again, there does look like there's room for both of them.
Yeah.
Maybe not for Judy Garland, but for this Dorothy. Again, the set designer's like, we want this raft to look as much like a cage as possible. That's the kind of movie we're making.
Was that the nurse that we knew? Or that looked like a different nurse, though? Was that her? Was that
That
the
was
mean lady?
Yeah, it was the evil
lady?
nurse, yeah.
Okay.
Jean Marsh is the actress.
I don't see a lot of nurses clad in all black.
No, it's everything about that institution says to me, stay away.
It's a less good fantasy.
Yes. I think the tagline of this movie should be, thank God I'm not in Kansas anymore.
Best night of sleep I've ever had.
Yes. It's good to get some sleep between two different waking nightmares. Well, we couldn't use Toto, so I'm your sidekick now.
Is this chicken going to be with us the rest of the movie?
Maybe.
Oh.
I've landed on the planet of the apes. That's a crossover opportunity missed, by the way.
It looks completely intentional right now. Barren landscape.
You won't like what you find, Dorothy.
You don't say.
Yeah, a little bit behind the eight ball here, Dorothy.
Right.
I know you've had a traumatic experience, but To be fair, I would be confused too because I'd be like, I don't see
Right?
any Technicolor.
I don't remember a deadly desert. Ah,
There you go.
little little exposition there.
Even though she doesn't remember the ruby slippers, where she put
Yeah.
the ruby slippers. So far, like the new landscape we've seen in Oz contains the threat of death immediately.
Yeah. Are we gonna get a Galaxy Quest situation here?
In what sense?
What do you that big rock monster?
Yeah, there's a lot of stop motion rock action here.
All right.
This is the mid 80s equivalent of the morphing effect.
Yeah.
Stop motion, not necessarily rocks, but and here's a Jeff Kuhn exhibit, the lunch pail tree.
How would you know? What are you talking about?
Ugh, tongue again.
An Audrey too.
Oh, it's a thumb. Wasn't expecting that.
Man.
I found an ear. That is an ear. So, what is your go-to mid 80s stop motion thing? For me, it's
I
a
mean,
couple of music videos.
yeah, there's that.
City of Tiny Lights by Frank Zappa.
Oh.
Um, the reissued Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson, and the California Raisins.
Well, I also always think of the original Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, it
It's
was
a little
definitely
earlier, but
yeah, right, proto. But in this period, they claymation is what we should be calling it because that's what it
yeah,
was
yeah.
specifically.
Because this is kind of reminding me oddly of like Max Headroom.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Doesn't this look like a shack where she would get killed by a hillbilly?
Oh yeah.
That's the house she grew up in.
It also does not look like the place where we know it landed.
Well, they actually worked that into the plot.
Okay. Have we learned that yet? I haven't heard anything.
No,
Okay.
you're ahead of the eight ball again,
All right.
as you often are with these sequels. You already figured out our talking chicken's going to be. There's the yellow brick road.
Oh. Dilapidated.
Yep, it looks like a dilapidated rural backwater shit brown brick trail. It's not yellow. Mind you, chickens see in black and white, right? So I should give them some space.
These are all such weird choices, you know, like we're in a real forest.
Yep.
You lack all the whimsy of
Yep.
Wizard of Oz, and
But the great thing about it is that's the point. Like that's
true.
totally
Yeah.
deliberate. the bigger question is why you would do it for Disney.
You remember Mombi.
So I'm trying to. So I mean the broken yellow brick road.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inversion. I think there might be some budgetary concerns as well.
Sure.
Easier to make or recreate. Throw a bunch of bricks in the middle of some grass.
Yeah.
But also, the shift in tone.
Because even the bricks themselves are not bright and shiny,
No,
even if you remove them from the dirt and moss that's growing over them.
they're shit brown. I mean, I can't think of a better way to put it.
You don't say. Nothing gets past her.
Replacing Toto with a talking chicken feels like a stereotypically sequel thing to do.
Good. Neither do we.
Yeah, lines like that aren't helping. Aren't helping people buy into this sequel. So, just to consolidate
Wow.
the post-apocalyptic vibe, we've got Walking Dead style graffiti.
Yes. Pretty soon, Joe Pesci will show up with 8 heads in a duffel bag.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you seen any Stephen Moffat era Doctor Who? But he basically stole this wholesale for the Weeping Angels.
Hmm.
Dorothy's like a Star Wars fan, mentally scrolling through the prequel or sequel variations of beloved characters.
Right.
This can't be Boba Fett.
That is terrifying.
Yeah. Not even in Terry Gilliam's Brazil could you come up
Right.
with something more viscerally terrifying than these guys. They've also got that sort of mid 80s clashing color thing.
Right.
Just a bunch of clashing colors
It's like the
deployed
Warriors.
simultaneously. Yeah. A little bit of Battlefield Earth in there too. It's just this scene just looks like the opening of Nightmare on Elm Street,
It does.
which came out a year earlier, so could be a reference.
I like that they went literal with the Wheelers.
Uh-huh. I guess it makes sense within the logic of the original movie. Because if there's dream versions of all the characters, then your post-traumatic memories
Right.
are going to lead to this. I know it's not him, but in my head, this is Flea playing
Yeah.
this role.
Yeah, totally.
Feels like they could have slipped Flea into this quite easily.
I'm sorry, I had to bring a chicken. I couldn't afford the dog. Yet another Tin Man.
Well, I don't know if you
Or a
noticed,
brass
but
man.
I don't know if you noticed what they called the Tin Man earlier
Copper.
when when she saw him. She called him the Tin Woodsman,
Yeah.
which presumably is what he's called in the books, not the movie. It's the non-union equivalent of the Tin Man. Mexican non-union equivalent.
You listen to me, Senor
Senior
Spielbergo.
Spielbergo. Well, that's a nihilistic thing
All
to
right.
put on a set of instructions. Does everything but live?
Is that chicken becoming Irish?
I love that if you were writing this down in prose form, it would be, "You don't believe that, do you?" said the talking chicken. It's a very vaudevillian chicken.
Mm.
They're like, "Let me tell you about my friend. My wife comes in and she says, take me somewhere I've never been before." I said, "When I try the kitchen." Kind of.
TikTok.
One
This
from
guy predicted TikTok.
yeah. He projects videos of like people talking to their dogs.
Are we going to find out that her coming to Oz in the first place is what screwed all this up?
It's not too far off that, yeah.
It's all your fault.
It's a pure aftermath sequel in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it.
TikTok is someone we know from Star Wars as well.
What was that? Sorry.
TikTok is another Star Wars actor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Tim Rose. You know
Mm.
who he plays?
Mm-mm.
It's a trap.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's Admiral Akbar right
Awesome.
there.
You're definitely right about the production value level.
Yeah, it's just different, right? I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
the 30s they had the people in the suits and the color.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're using what the 80s offers. It's also interesting that, this is made 1 year before Labyrinth, because this
Yeah.
is very close to that. So it must just be something in the air
Right.
for children's fantasy films at this time. They're all very similar.
Between like Labyrinth and this and a never-ending story,
Legend,
legend. Yeah.
Krull.
Mm-hmm. Krull. Yes.
I like that they introduced TikTok with that kind of jaunty music, given what he's about to do. He's just a stone cold fucking killer. Basically, the Terminator. Oh, yes. Did it not say on my little pad that I'm a robot killer? He's having that Terminator 2 existential crisis. A lawyer.
Neither do we.
Yeah. Please don't kill me like all the others.
Right?
I'm only a cyborg. It's just nightmare juice, isn't it? That
Oh man.
the Wheelers are like pure nightmare juice. It's called post-apocalypse. Belinda. Belina, not Belinda. The sassy chicken quips just make everything slightly more upsetting, not less.
Exactly. Just thinking the same thing.
Emerald City seems to have turned into David Lynch's Dune
Yeah.
in the interim. And ironically, that's the least Lynchian aspect of this film. Yeah, it looks like a lot of money was spent on that.
Hmm.
This is where I thought the film might start to get a little like more
Lighter.
cheery, a little bit more frivolous. I was sorely mistaken.
Somebody gonna stab somebody else in the eye.
It's worse than that. Do you remember her from Young Sherlock Holmes?
Oh yeah.
Another another children's film that was that was
Oh
used
yeah,
into a
yeah,
horror
yeah. She
film.
looks familiar.
She's the one in the wrapped up in the Egyptian
Okay.
bandages, about to be, and they're pouring wax on them and preserving them or something.
I forget. It's funny because it's not too long ago I rewatched that movie.
Same year as this as well, 85.
Yeah.
Yeah, a disembodied head exhibit.
What is going on,
This
Tom?
is your this is your this is your monkey brains moment.
I'm more and more frightened.
It's so it's like the darkness is no sign of letting up. There's a literal room full of disembodied heads.
Did she replace her own head?
Yeah.
Wow.
The actresses get more and more famous the more she replaces a head. There she is, just wandering around headless. I wondered whether this was a meta comment on the casting changes. They could have worked that in somewhere to explain how she's no longer Judy Garland.
Who's that? Do we know her?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
Can look her up. Obviously, she's not going to be. She's not going to have that head for too long with all those heads to choose from. No information. Chicken attack. Don't tell them.
I guess I'll just have my head cut off.
Oh well. Just let me throw this chicken away.
I was gonna say, I wonder if PETA approves of how chickens are used in this movie.
This is definitely pre-PETA. Set designer was clearly given a brief for this scene. As much creepy gothic Victoriana
Yeah.
shit as you can find. Put it all in there.
If you can have a frozen screaming hippo, that'd be great.
Some screaming hippo. I love that idea. Dorothy learned a lot about Oz that she did not disclose.
Right.
Which would make sense if it was her dream, but the film has told us that it is no longer her dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I think it's like a meta commentary on how the franchise is sort of is now an antique.
Mm-hmm.
Paintings of our legacy trio as you
Yeah,
never remembered them.
As they never looked.
you remember you remember the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodsman?
Oh, and the lion was just an actual lion.
No, you're remembering the film wrong. They weren't people in suits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can't just cut to that without context. We need some warning that a man with a giant pumpkin head is about to appear.
Yeah, this is supposed. Does he become the friend? Is that what I'm to understand?
Yeah.
Because he looks like a living nightmare.
His name is Jack Pumpkinhead as well. I mean, the lineage couldn't be clearer from
Yeah.
Mr. Jack Skellington. Jack the Pumpkin King, for fuck's sake. Disney's got a lawsuit against itself.
Right.
It's interesting. Like I wrote a note saying that Jim Henson must have taken a lot from this movie for Labyrinth.
Uh-huh.
But you know who does the voice of Jack Pumpkinhead?
I do not.
Brian Henson.
Oh wow.
So it's all connected.
I guess I was hoping you were going to say the son of Chris Sarandon.
When that line is in your movie, you're in a horror film.
Wow. Did you see all those headless
Headless
people
dancing
outside?
girls outside. I think when you write that line on a typewriter, and it would have been a typewriter
Yeah.
back then, you would have gone, guys, I think we're making a horror movie here.
Stephen J. Canal Store.
That's so funny. Yesterday I sat down and I watched a YouTube video which was back to back all the A-Team introductions, A-Team titles. I don't know what happened in that sixth season, but the show changed quite drastically.
Really?
They get retried and
Oh
then
yeah, I
basically
forgot about that. Yeah.
and escape again, and then
Yeah.
they're sort of half owned by Robert
By the
Vaughn.
government. Yeah. Yeah, things did get weird.
Sort of out of the frying pan into the fire in terms of scariness, really, isn't
Right.
it? When you've got a giant pumpkin head man helping you escape a woman who has a room full of
Full of
disembodied heads.
disembodied heads.
You're like, who should I ally with here?
You know he's gonna trip on something and wake her up.
That head is so big.
Yeah. Oh, who, me?
That's just, that's condemning that actor to a life of neck problems.
Dorothy, may I call you mom? This is very inappropriate.
I know, a lot of people have commented on the Oedipal subtext of the original movie, but this isn't even subtext. This is just the script.
Text.
May I call you mom even if it isn't so? So you probably got the idea now that these are surrogates for the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion. So Pumpkin was built as a Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Tin Man. So the next one is
I get it.
It's not necessarily going to be a lion, but it's going to be an animal.
That hippo.
It's not quite a frozen. What did you say? Frozen
screaming hippo.
Frozen screaming hippo. You're not too far off, actually.
All right. Tiger, bear.
No. There might be some clues in my decor.
Oh, a reindeer.
Yeah. Well, kind of. There you go.
Oh, I see. A moose that I guess was murdering somebody so it's got a red snout.
But he's called a gump, which I always thought was from Dr. Zeus. So I don't know. I mean, it's like you've got the Oz books, use them. Don't steal other people's children's books. But I don't know if Dr. Zeus got the gump.
Yeah, the very idea of this movie existing makes me frightened to get anywhere near the Oz books.
You just open the pages and spiders come out and attack you.
Exactly.
And then you're like, wow, they really captured that in the movie.
Yeah.
It was like a multimedia experiment. Just making a golem. I can't believe you predicted that was going to happen about 2 minutes ago.
What? Why? What do we call the pumpkin head? What's his name?
Jack.
What?
Pumpkinhead.
That's it.
I think that's what he's. I'm not being facetious. I think that's what he's called. I know it sounded like I was being facetious, but I think that's his name.
I know. Why wouldn't Jack Pumpkinhead, upon getting the second command, say, "Why would you ask me to tie myself up and then move?"
Yeah, Jack Pumpkinhead, I'm right. You know, it's an everyday dilemma. You got to get that powder of life, but there's a disembodied head right next to it that you don't want to wake up.
Oh my God.
Like the Wicked Witch of the original movie was pure camp. Here we've
Yeah,
got a deep throated, decapitated electroshock therapy nurse. This is the real deal.
I seriously thought we were going to get, a Freddy Krueger kind of moment. When Freddy,
We've had a Freddy Krueger kind of
we've
moment.
already had a moment. When he sticks his arms way out and
Yeah,
then all of a sudden he's back to normal
that's
and
what
he
this made. That's
he
what
does
this made
that
me think
weird
of.
run. That's what I thought we were going to see the headless body do.
Movie's not over yet. Satire.
Wow.
Let's throw in a little. Let's throw in a little poke at Reagan while we're here. I'm sure his brain's scrambled up fine now. Yeah, that would be useful.
Oh God. I'm scared. Think? That was great.
I don't remember a moment with Scarecrow where Dorothy essentially went, "Listen, you fuck! Think I sang a whole song about how I don't have a brain." By the way, it sort of goes without saying, but we should say no songs.
Yeah, right.
This is not a musical. It's not going to be a musical.
No. Oh God. Watching
This
Jack
is
try to run after.
it's another thing about mid 80s kids fantasy movies, flying machines. So it was making flying machines, flying off in flying machines.
Explorer style.
Yeah. Never ending story, young Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And all you had to do was sin against nature and create a golem like creature
Yeah, right.
with the head of a moose and the body of a couch.
Of a couch.
And once again, the original Flying Monkeys, it pales in comparison.
Yeah.
Kicking those wheelers into action, my God. Like human cockroaches. Terrifying. Or just don't come back. Please don't come back.
Yeah, right. Jesus Christ.
You get what I'm saying, don't you? I was shot in the head.
Oh my God. So that you could witness this nightmare of understanding that you were a severed head.
Let's keep saying each other's names in the hope that people will remember them. That's right, Jack Pumpkinhead. What do you think, Gump?
Wow.
I'm too old for this shit. And other filler dialogue.
Yeah, I'm so glad my head hasn't been cut off yet.
So creepy.
Oh my
Oedipus
God.
stuff. I'm gonna play my evil lute. Like like the worst supervillain of them all, Sting.
Is Ozma's own thing, or is Ozma supposed to be like a good witch?
Yeah, like that's yeah, it's there's that kind of remake quality to it, right? So
Yeah.
Dorothy's got a talking pet, an animal, a tin man, a
Mhm.
scarecrow, and these are
The
like
Wheelers
bad and
are the monkeys.
yeah, and then there's good and bad witches.
Yeah. We'll draw straws. Sorry, Dorothy. Off you go. Oh
for,
my
for
God. Fuck.
last one in Oz, first one out of Oz. Yeah, it's not enough for to just tell us about the deadly desert. We have to see a body disintegrate in it. Welcome to the 80s, everyone.
Wow.
Now this sleep that Dorothy has is the only respite she gets between being trapped between two waking nightmares.
Right?
So I could either go back and get electroshock therapy, or I can continue with whatever this is.
I could
I'll get
fall
my
into
head
the
cut
deadly
off.
desert. Mom, wake up.
I don't know if a human brain could come up with a nightmare this effective. Oh, yeah, there he goes.
Jack
There
lost
goes
his
his
head.
head. There goes. I wasn't
Oh God.
I wasn't made to make turns.
Yeah, well, I'm the one that made you, and I'm telling you, go get that fucking head.
Listen, you fuck. I'm evil Dorothy. Remember that Judy Garland Dorothy? No. I'm Dorothy from The Craft. I'm Dorothy. Gothery. Stop calling her mom. It's really
It's
weird.
so creepy. Oh my God,
Oh,
it's getting worse.
there goes the Gump. Is anyone still integral? Is anyone like
Right?
still have that entire body with them?
Even though it really is all your fault.
We just have to accept our inevitable deaths,
Yeah.
and that's where Spectre got it from.
How did I know that Pumpkinhead would land on his stick body like a knife going through his skull.
Clearly, Sam Mendes is a fan of this movie because that happens in Spectre. Do you remember at the beginning?
Oh,
You thought
Jack.
this you thought this pumpkin head was scary the right way round.
Yeah. Oh, so they just made it past the desert.
The Forbidden Zone.
Get
They need
up,
to cut,
stupid.
they should just cut off his legs and let him roll around like BB-8.
Oh yeah, we forgot about these guys.
Do you want the long version or the short version? That rock there it looked just like the monkey brains monkey for a second.
A small army.
Small army.
Is this a misunderstanding, or the chicken is going to end up being extremely important for the Gnome King?
The latter.
All right.
Which is awfully convenient. Again,
Right.
if this was all in Dorothy's head, it would make way more sense.
Yes.
From the
From
Wizard of Oz.
Kansas. From that movie that I like.
The one with the Munchkins? It's a trap.
Well, he's better than he looks.
He's a cold-blooded killer.
You're
Have you seen the
absolutely right
Terminator?
about Jack, though.
What? Which
No,
part?
the Gnome King is. He'd
Oh
be
yeah.
useless. You should be laughing in terms of Jack.
Oh, look, more physical peril. So this is my second fall from a great height in the past 2 minutes.
Dominions.
Got a point. Welcome to Reagan's America.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a retcon. Hey, look, the Scarecrow.
Hmm.
You thought he was
Ooh.
scary when it
Yeah,
was a
right.
guy. He's more like the Scarecrow from Batman.
Yeah.
We're a bit scared to use him. It might get us into legal trouble.
All right then, sir.
Some shit hot claymation going on there. Well, you're fucked now, Dorothy.
Right? Just like a good long shot to make the
It's kind
audience feel her isolation and terror.
of that glimpse of the Scarecrow is sort of like the movie making a storytelling virtue out of not being able to bring back certain characters. It's interesting that they worked the legal situation into the plot.
Bad. What? Scarecrow became king? What?
Yeah, that did happen. That happened in the original at the end of the original movie. Because the wizard leaves in the hot air
All right.
balloon. Not that anyone's mentioned that here. But I legally don't think we're allowed to mention the wizard.
Right.
It's a never say never again situation.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to give you
He's
that one. It's
he's not
perfectly fine you brought that up.
he's not Blofeld.
Yeah.
He's just a crazy bald guy with a scar. You think Lucas got the Holy Grail idea from here? And I guess he's the wizard surrogate,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Except the original wizard wasn't malevolent; he was just a con man. Hey,
The worst part about all of this is that right now, in this moment, if Dorothy makes it back to Kansas, I kind of want her to get the electroshock therapy.
I don't want to see Jack Pumpkinhead waving goodbye ever again. It's upsetting.
It doesn't sound like a healthy lunch.
Now you want to talk about Risk?
You've been in the jackpot for quite some time. Let me tell you. A paddywhack.
Tabasco. I'd love it if he goes in there and the Gump is now played by Hervé Villechaize. It's Peter Scaramanga. Only the penitent man will pass.
I was just gonna say that this is the last crusade.
It is.
Portion
and
of
Lucas
film.
is on set. Lucas is on set while this is being filmed. So
let's face it, Jack will.
Jehovah begins with an I.
Is that chicken still inside his head?
Yeah. As quiet as that chicken's been for the whole movie.
Right? No sassy jokes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I was gonna say it's been enough time, and the chickens has to speak now. Imagine like just showing that clip to investors.
Right.
Hey, it's like, this is a sequel to The Wizard of Oz. Yep. Yep,
Uh-huh.
absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. It's gonna be nightmare inducing for the children, don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're
What
counting on. Yeah. We've also invested in mattress pads. Problem is, you take your eye off the ball.
Every person that entered the theater should have been given a diaper so that they could shit their pants.
Yeah, we've reached the limits of what claymation can do. Now we're just gonna go back to people in costumes again.
Yeah.
With lethal paint on their faces. Do you know that story about Ray Bolger and the original Tin Man?
No.
Because of course, no, not Ray Bolger. What's he called?
Shit.
But whoever the original guy was, the guy from the Beverly Hillbillies, who was supposed to be the Tin Man, and he couldn't do it because the paint they put, he was allergic to the paint they put on his face.
Right. I do remember hearing that story.
Yeah, I like the fact that in the 1930s, that wasn't a reason to do it differently. Just recast it.
Right.
Disney owns them now.
Yeah. It is odd that they go for a person in a costume now.
Yeah.
Like, why did they switch?
Maybe it was too painstaking to keep doing it the other way.
Ran out of time. We got to get this thing out by June.
We're now answering a question that the audience never asked. Why didn't the Ruby Slippers go home with Dorothy?
Yes.
And we didn't ask it because we were told it was a dream. And stuff from the dream world doesn't pass into the real world. So you're technically right. She did cause this
Mm-hmm.
because it's him having the ruby slippers that allows him to do all this. It's worked out so well for everyone who's gone in there before.
Yeah. Your weapons, you will not need them.
Only what you take with you. That was a bit more Miyagi, I think, than Yoda. Because your memory will be wiped by electroshock therapy.
Yeah.
It's maybe a bridge too far to sour that iconic line that way. That's basically going, there's no place like home, you stupid little shit.
Idiot.
One dog goes one way, one dog goes the other. And Dorothy saying, what do you want from me? That's going to be the new Bond film. I'm going to find a way to put that in every episode.
There you go.
Choose wisely.
Right?
Don't go for the most obvious looking gold one.
The scarecrow. The scarecrow was a carpenter.
No, better than that. That's clearly doesn't look like you're winding. Didn't you take mime at stage school? I believe that TikTok was a character written around the time of World War One. He's got that shell shock soldier thing about him.
Yeah.
I think he is. He's from the. He's from one of the books they pulled from.
How many books are there?
Oh, there's a good few.
Okay.
5 or 6 at least. Bless you.
Thank you.
Quiet, my human horses.
That one lead wheeler does kind of look like Max Headroom.
Yeah. They're the most 80s thing in this, I think.
Yeah.
Was it also Jean Marsh who played the witch in uh Battle for Endor?
Ooh, I don't remember.
Oh, these character actors with their long resumes. Stop doing so much TV. Oh, she's in Willow. No, it isn't her.
No.
No, I don't think so.
I thought she might do some deducing, not a random shenanigan
Yeah,
trust fall.
again, if it were her dream, this would make more sense. That's good dream logic.
Who was he complaining about? That good witch in the cage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Usma. That's
Oh,
truer than
okay.
you even truer than you even realize. It'll be another 30 years before anyone makes an Oz movie. Oh, it was the kryptonite all along.
Yeah. Oh
How
man.
how do we recognize each other? Yeah, you'd think that the man dressed as a scarecrow would be the scarier version, but no.
He's pretty frightening though.
My legs went over there, and my arms went over there. Whereas this guy just looks like a tweaker. Oh. Everyone ends up in a cage eventually. I wonder if that was a Lucas note as well. It's like, what should the scarecrow look like? Oh, just put some colors on a piece of canvas, like the map in Temple of Doom.
Yeah. He just, I mean, he looks like the pedophile version of a scarecrow. It's very unsettling.
I would while away the hours. Pedophile version of a scarecrow. Do you think at this point people were like still expecting songs, or are they
Oh, I
just given
hope
up on
not.
that?
I hope they had given up by this point.
I can't think of any other franchise where they've changed the genre of the movie in the sequel as well.
You're not allowed to be a sore loser. My legs.
I thought he said he didn't mind not being a sofa.
God.
Oh, here we go with the rock gargoyles.
Yeah, right.
Oof. Someone was obviously like, this claymation isn't scary enough. What can we do?
Oh, now it's starting to look like a Sam Raimi film.
Yeah, it really is. Ironic thing is, I bet Sam Raimi's Oz film is far less scary than this.
Yeah. Yes.
So scared she shit out an egg.
Yeah.
The only thing that can kill me
so
conveniently.
so chickens are his kryptonite?
Yeah. I wonder how the Egg Council felt about that.
All right.
Is that good product placement for them or bad? It defeated the enemy, but they keep calling it poison.
Yeah.
Those Egg Council guys got to you too. No, Homer, it ain't like that. The guy with the egg.
Oh, that's a shame.
I bet he's gonna look really scary before he before he breaks up. Like when Julian Glover turns into Doc Brown. If this is what happens to you mentally, if even the threat of electroshock therapy is
Yeah, right.
presented to you, imagine what the actual process does to you. It's, I love that for the idea the ruby slippers have just become like a teleport.
Yeah.
It's like I was under the impression it was one time use and done.
I
Discard
think
after using.
you left one friend behind, didn't you?
And somehow the process of turning to stone made everything different from how it originally looked. There it is.
Hmm.
There's an impasse right there. Dorothy using the ruby slippers to go to Oz.
Yeah.
not back to Kansas.
Little inversion.
Hmm.
I told you forgot someone. Before I touch you.
Yeah. You've had so you've had so much luck touching ornaments. Before this happened, I was completely convinced that they would have just killed him off. See, look, you can recreate the style of the Wizard of Oz
There
when
you
you
go.
want to,
Yeah.
which makes it seem like even more of a choice that they didn't do it. Oh, look, they've polished up TikTok like C-3PO. And there are the Munchkins.
There we go.
Remember me from your nightmares?
Remember that bitch witch? Well, we got her in a cage, everybody.
Scary clown in the background. Essentially asking Dorothy to be the child bride of a
Yeah.
man made of straw who's her best friend. Better than you better than you three.
Back home, they think I'm crazy. They're going to electrocute me. There's no place like home.
It's your doppelganger.
Mhm.
It's your good witch. You are the bad witch. You were the bad witch all along.
You were the terrible one the whole time. I
Actually,
did.
now I think about it, I don't want to go back to Kansas at all. It's an acting exercise.
Mm-hmm. Let's not make it weird.
Jeez. Oh, they clearly thought there were more sequels in the
Yeah,
pipeline.
right.
They weren't planning on killing it.
This is the House Party 4 equivalent of looking down the barrel of the camera and saying sequel. Really? It's exactly what you asked for.
And it's exactly what happened last time. Haven't even said hello to the legacy characters.
Yeah, right.
I'll never forget how you turned your back on me when your real mom came back.
Right.
Look, wait a minute. The Scarecrow and Pumpkinhead are essentially the same. I can't wait to get back to Kansas. I'm probably lying in some ditch somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Half
Probably
dead with malaria.
there's a chicken pecking at my head, probably, or something
Is that her
similarly
skull?
gruesome. It would just be the bones of Dorothy and then the end. A Walter Murch production. So basically, the difference between Oz and Kansas is mud.
Yeah.
One has mud, one doesn't. Also, in this world, she's a quivering wreck. Toto makes himself useful
Yeah.
for the first and last time in the movie.
Just in the nick of time.
I was off filming Benji in a different part of the woods.
I honestly didn't put it past this movie for that last shot where her arms are out there for Toto to just jump into her face and bite it.
You no longer smell like Dorothy.
Yeah. Yeah, we know.
I want to be emancipated.
The ones that were going to fry my brains.
Yes, exactly.
Where you left me.
You left me. I love the fact it's like they make a point of like they do that usual death deniability thing, and then they make a point of saying, but Dr. Wally was definitely killed. In your head canon, imagine he's dead. Oh, look, the house is rebuilt. It's this very little house on the prairie.
Mm.
So no doubt there'll be a clown rapist soon.
That looks like is that the bartender from Back to the Future 3?
Yes, he is. That is. You're absolutely right. You're dead on. What we need is some wake-up juice. Yeah, it's him. I've been trying to place him this whole time. See, this is crazy. Labyrinth comes out in the next movie. Both have the same endings.
Yeah.
Where she looks in the mirror and sees the fantasy world. There's no chicken. Muppets in. There's no. There's a bunch of Muppets back here.
Yeah.
And David Bowie in very tight pants. It's nice to not be under threat of electroshock therapy.
That's what's really nice.
Auntie M, I'm never going to let this go.
Nor should I. Nor should I.
Nor should I.
You have to admit, nor should I, right?
Oh, like that time I was inside because I was about to be shocked by an electroshock therapy machine. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da,
And
da,
let's
da,
face it,
da,
our
da, da.
descendants are gonna murder each other with telekinesis.
Yes. So yeah, the Land of Oz and
Oh,
Ozma of Oz.
was that Paul Mazursky? Did I see his name go
Yeah.
by? Whoa,
Gary
whoa, whoa.
Kurtz also. Oh yeah.
Matt Clark.
Gary Kurtz from obviously Star Wars and Empire
Hmm.
and not Return of the Jedi. Something about this ending reminds me of David Shire who did the music.
Hmm.
David Shire of Taking a Pelham 123 fame.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to monochrome like in the first movie.
Right. I love when you look Tim Rose up. It's just him as Admiral Akbar.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
This, for some reason, reminds me of Once Upon a Time in America, this credit sequence. Stunts by Tip Tipping. I have a story about Tip Tipping.
You do?
I remember I watched a TV show back in the late 80s, early 90s
Mm-hmm.
called Fantastic Facts. And he was on the show, like performing stunts live on stage. And then at the end of the show, suddenly there was a cutaway, and then the host of the show did an in memoriam where they reported that he died in a stunt accident with a plane.
Oh.
It's one of the most chilling things I ever saw as a child. Second assistant director of the second unit, Waldo Rogue. That is Nicholas Rogue's son.
All right.
Don't you tell me this isn't a horror movie. Nicholas Rogue's son's working on it. We got some great fake sounding names here. Mike Plug, Reg Bream, Roy Rogers.
Zoran Perisic.
It's like it's not just like fake sounding names, but different ways to do fake names. Roy Rogers, Reg Bream, Mike Plug.
Stanley Sayer.
Deep Roy, I think, is involved as well. As I saw his name. Probably inside TikTok, I would imagine. Claymation unit, there we go. There you go. Jack Pumpkinhead is Brian Henson.
Mm.
Oh, Tin Man was Deep Roy. That is a confined space for Deep Roy to be in. That makes me sad to think he had to sit inside the belly of that Tin Man. Wow. Special thanks to George Lucas.
Special no thanks to George Lucas.
Well, it was a Gary Kurtz reunion. Two of them hadn't worked together since Empire.
Hmm.
And they came up with this.
Just 5 short years later. Well.
Produced by Oz Productions Limited. So maybe it is real. It has a production company. It must be real. Well, there you go.
Wow.
So that's the first time you've seen Return to Oz.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I mean, what do you say? It is what it is.
I think that's exactly what you say.
Yeah,
It's definitely its own
it's its
animal.
own thing. Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say uh it's interesting to think about how much their constraints put what we saw into motion, or
Yeah.
if that was what they wanted as well, you
Oh,
know?
interesting. I just think they go so far with it, like
Yeah.
beyond what you need to do with the constraints you have,
Hmm.
that it all seems deliberate to me. And I think that's what makes it a successful film in its own right, is that it has a plan and it sticks to it.
Yeah.
Now, whether that is a good idea or not, in the context of making a Disney children film, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where I'm less sure. But
Because it's weird. I mean, it's not a strictly bad film,
no, oh, I think it's
you know?
I would call it a good film. I would easily
Um,
call it a good film.
but it's not a great film either.
No,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like I think it does work as a sequel, as like a nice
Yeah, it's
counterpoint to the original.
yeah, but it's weird because the original characters are present shortly but different
We've
than
seen plenty of sequels where that happens. As
where well how we
on
know
the
them.
phone with
Yeah.
the various people, and like you say, given that they legally were advised not to use the original trio,
Uh-huh.
they worked that into the plot quite effectively with this whole sort of self-fulfilling prophecy thing of
Hmm.
Dorothy causing the destruction of Oz. I really like that element of it.
Hmm.
Um, it's I'd say my issues with it are more on a technical level, that it's a little bit too long and a little bit
It
slow.
is, yeah.
Like the original moves at a clip
Hmm.
and is better for it. I mean, it has songs as well, so maybe you don't
That's part of
notice
it.
the time passing as much when people are
Yeah.
doing songs. Uh, but
But like one part I really noticed is the going in and the touching of objects, the Last Crusade
right,
moment, because each person gets to go in, each person gets to touch
yeah,
three things. Not that we're
right,
seeing all of that, but we're just sitting with Dorothy outside,
yeah.
you know,
And
waiting.
again, I don't want to make too much of this because I think it is a conscious choice not to do this. But the original movie is a road movie as well. Like
Yeah, right.
it's got that kind of momentum to it that this doesn't have. I don't think they want to do another movie with that kind of momentum. But it sort of it
But
makes
this
it
is
feel
also kind of a
soggy.
road movie. I mean, they have to travel, they have to go to different places.
Well, they just go from one place to the other. There's no traveling really.
No, I guess you're right, but I
It's
guess,
just two set pieces.
yeah.
Um,
But it's like, you start off in the desert, you have to get to,
yeah, true.
so they are
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
there's
it doesn't
travel,
feel like it though. It
but it doesn't feel like a travel movie.
just feels like they're in the same place pretty much the
Yeah.
whole time. Um, so yeah, I mean, I what I like about it now and what I liked about it when I first saw it is that it feels like a bold artistic statement
Hmm.
in the same way that the original movie does. Like feels like unique and really breaking the boundaries of what we can do with these kinds of stories, which is how I feel about the original as well. It doesn't have the balance of the original,
No.
and it will never be as iconic, but um, I think it's a worthy silver.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta kind of respect that, the idea of it just sort of boldly saying, this is what we are. This is
Yeah,
what this movie is.
we're
Be
we're a
damned.
horror movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
for kids, for
Hmm.
kids.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I think you know, but again, like as a product, it makes sense as a product as its time, but it doesn't make sense as a commercial product. Like
Yeah.
it's easy to see how this failed
Right.
and confused people and confounded people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I get that element of it. It doesn't hold it back for me watching it as a movie in its own right.
Hmm.
And I appreciate the differences from the original,
I mean, the
but they're not.
whole movie, it can be considered one giant inversion,
Yes,
you know?
like almost to the point where it's like you can literally map the inversion, and it
Hmm.
fits perfectly on the original.
Yeah, they do
Like
kind of.
you have a surrogate for everything. You have
Right.
an inverted version of something from the first movie.
Right.
Um, and then they do the thing that all the we've seen a lot of sequels do, where then they mix it up, and then the people from the original movie come in, and they all have
Uh-huh.
to stand around on screen together, going, "I don't know,
What do you
I
think
don't
about
know,
this? I mean, it's
what do you
weird,
think?
right?
I don't." Yes. We should have never met. We really
Yeah.
should have never met. The sort of Charlton Heston, James Franciscus thing, and then you're like, well, what does that mean now? When your surrogate has to share screen
Yeah.
time with the
Yeah.
legacy character.
It's a little
Um,
weird.
yeah, but it's made very clear, I think, that when you see Dorothy ride away from Toto, at that moment you're like, oh, okay, Toto's not
Yeah,
going to be
right.
in this movie. You get a sense, like they get to Oz, it's like the Scarecrow's missing. He's Luke Skywalker in The Force Awakens. He's the opening crawl. Luke Skywalker is missing. Great, I came to see him in this movie, but okay, sure. Um,
I wonder if they got that idea from Lucas. He's like, you know what I did with the Return to Oz? They said the what?
imagine like you go see Superman, and the first thing is like Superman is missing. Oh God. You're only gonna you're only gonna see him once in the last scene, mind you. I suppose Superman 3 does kind of like Superman is missing for a lot of that movie.
Well, but that's essentially Superman Returns.
Yeah,
He
I know
has
that's the
gone missing.
problem.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
right. So I'm
Oh, you're
saying we
just
have
saying
that
it
living
has happened.
example of
Yes,
that
yeah, we do.
mistake. Yeah.
We do very much so. But but here it's
Everyone's saying, "Where's RoboCop?"
exactly, yeah. Everyone's saying, where's Scarecrow? Where's the Tin Woodsman?
Yeah,
Not the Tin Man. Where's the Tin Woodsman?
the Tin Woodsman, of course.
And the Cowardly Lion. So yeah, it's again, it's interesting to me that one piece of IP that they purchased was the Ruby Slippers,
Mm-hmm.
because that says to me like
But it's hard for
they
me to navigate that and figure that out because you're telling me that they had to pay through the nose for the slippers, but there are other things in it from the original, but just not much. So is
well
it
no, but
because they're from the original book?
everything else they could legally argue came from the book.
Yeah.
They just have to be careful about what they call it sometimes, or
Mm-hmm.
how it appears, and that it doesn't. And again, I mean, that's the again, that's the must be the rationale behind why it all looks different,
Right.
why the Scarecrow looks different, why the Tin Woodsman looks different, why
Right.
the lion is just a lion, is because if you try to recreate the original movie, they'll say, well, we did that, you don't have the rights to that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting that they drew the line at the Ruby Slippers. We're like, we can't make this movie work without the Ruby Slippers. Where you
It's
absolutely could.
impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ruby Slippers could have been like, so it could have been some like dark version of the Ruby Slippers where they're like,
Yeah.
snakes now or something, like
Mm-hmm. And you
foot
can make the
snakes.
argument like when what's his name, the Stone Man, is wearing those
The
ruby
Gnome
red
King.
slippers, the Gnome
You only
King,
have to look at my name.
and yeah, and putting it underneath his sort of stone skirt.
It's
It all comes across as rather odd. and misplaced. Like it just seems like
Yeah,
an idea they're clinging to that is unnecessary.
yeah. I mean that yeah, that's not the reason to buy into this as a sequel to The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like you're either in or you're out by this point.
Right.
You know? I think you're either buying into this new version of the same of this story, or you've been out as soon as you
Mhm.
realize there wasn't going to be any songs in it.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's that kind of, we talk about this all the time. It's like separating yourself from your attachment to the original in order to fully
Yeah,
appreciate
right.
the sequel. And you really have to do that here because
Yeah. I mean, it's an
design,
imperative.
tone, style, there's nothing.
But
Nothing.
you can see it's funny, I've been going back and forth about that. I mean, obviously, with our sequel experience, the things we've been talking about for years
Sure.
now, we have come to a place where I think we are, a movie that takes a or a sequel that takes a radical different turn. We can meet somewhere,
Mm.
but to a certain extent, I think the movie going audience at large is
Yeah.
when they go to a sequel, they're looking for a lot of what they had.
Yeah.
And so you can almost understand why there's massive disappointment for this movie when somebody goes sees it and all they're saying the whole time is what the fuck.
Even the
And
characters on screen,
yeah,
are saying, "Where are all the Munchkins? I don't
yeah,
remember this. This is not what Oz is." I mean,
yeah.
at that, like, that's where I think this movie's really pushing it. Like, it's really
Hmm.
pushing people's patience. Like, if you're giving the movie the benefit of the doubt, when Dorothy says, "Where are all the Munchkins?" you'd be like, as the audience, like, "Yeah, what the fuck are we doing here?"
Yeah. Oh man.
It's like I can still make it home in time for Matlock. It's like,
Matlock.
fuck. Yeah. So I mean,
Oh,
it's I don't think we'll find a more prominent example of
yeah.
a counterpoint to the original than
No.
this. It's everything that the original is not.
Hmm.
Um and it seems to be calculated that way.
Yeah, again, I'm curious about uh how much of that was out of necessity and how much of
Yeah,
that was no, this is just what we want to do,
right.
you
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
And with Lucas on board, it feels more like this is just what I would want to do, you know.
sure, he just come off Temple of Doom and he'd
Hmm.
done the same to the indie franchise, made it, you
Right.
know, 12 shades darker than it already was.
Right.
Um
Mind you, the first movie had melting faces.
I was gonna say, yeah, like it's definitely and we'll get around to the indie movies, and you always have to remember with the indie movies, it's always a sliding scale, right? Like
Yeah.
you can't critique something from a later movie that absolutely happens in Raiders, just in a different way. Um, but there is just no comparison here. Like you try and do it with Wizard of Oz, and you think, well, the flying monkeys are kind of scary. It has some sort of
They
shocking
scared me when I
moments.
was a little
Yeah,
kid, you know.
but then you see the Wheelers and you think, okay, I didn't know what terror was.
with the faces
Yeah.
that are down, the sort of faces on the helmets, and then their faces come up. I don't know which one's more frightening.
Yeah, and the wheels for hands.
Yes, it's all terrible.
And the fact that they're based on, the porters in an electroshock therapy clinic. I mean,
Right. Yes.
from the idea to the execution, everything about it is scary.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Anything left for you?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah.
I think we've covered everything we can cover about that. I don't know if we'll go. I
I
guess we
have
could go back to.
spoken.
We, there's no place like this is the way. Um,
Yes.
um, yeah, I don't know if we'll go back to the Oz series. I guess we technically could, but
Yeah. Because
there's
we
a
have a
there's a
prequel sequel.
we have a prequel and a an original.
and then
So,
yeah.
and I don't know what. There's just the one, right? Though there's just the Oz Great and Powerful. They didn't go on from that in live action, did they?
No.
So strange. Such a
Yeah.
weird time for cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Like all these abandoned franchises.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
I,
Oh
fe-
well.
I, you know, and it's funny. I remember it being fairly successful.
I
No,
think it was. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it did really well. And Wicked is huge, so you'd think
right.
that that would carry the IP over, but I guess not. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Well, all right.
Oh, good on you, Disney Plus, for putting this up
Yeah.
on your streaming service, because this is probably a part of Disney history they don't want to relive, and yet they put it up there anyway.
Yes. Now just give us that Star
Star
Wars
Wars.
holiday special
It's
that we
never gonna
all want,
happen.
and
Never gonna happen.
the originals as the originals.
I actually think there's more chance of putting up the Star Wars holiday special than ever making the original
Yeah,
Star Wars trilogy
I
available.
think you're right.
Yeah. What a sad situation that is.
That's how crazy is that?
I mean, I say this with no pleasure. We've got to wait for George Lucas to die, you know, because
Hmm.
it's when Hitchcock died, then you got Psycho 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Suddenly, what was off the table is now considered fair
Now
game.
possible.
Yeah, so they'll probably be able to renegotiate the terms.
Hmm.
Because the idea that they would leave money on the table, that Disney would ever leave money on the table, because they would make so much money out of
Yeah,
releasing those properties to
of
the general
course.
public. So, but I think it's only Lucas that's standing in their way.
It's crazy.
Now, if George Lucas dies in mysterious circumstances,
It's not us.
this got nothing. This is. I want this turning up in court one day.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching along with us
Yeah.
for Return to Oz. Boy, what a return it was. Good times.
Was it? I hadn't even thought about that. The title is misleading because we're returning to an Oz we've never been to,
Yeah, exactly.
unless you've read the books. And even then, I suspect, as you intimated, the books are a lot, a lot less strange and terrifying than this movie was.
Yeah, totally.
They wouldn't be the beloved children's books they are if
If they
the
were
tone
this
was
dark and weird.
if yeah, the tone was like this throughout them.
All right. Well, that's another watch along in the books. Thank
Yeah.
you all for joining us on our regular feed. I'm sure you could get the House Party movies or sequels right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, please join the Patreon. We've got more interesting stuff on the horizon for the Patreon.
Definitely. We're gonna get into some great franchises that we're
Yeah.
gonna recover on there coming up. And some
Good
not so
stuff.
great ones.
Don't worry
some
about
not
it.
so and some not one dog goes one way, one dog goes the other. Don't worry about it.
All right. Well, for Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. We will be back for another watch along. Just give us another alternating month.
Yeah, we'll be back in August.
There you go.
And we already know what it's gonna be. So
You already know what it's going to be.
I've told you, but we're not gonna share it now.
I don't remember.
That's a different problem.
That's it. Totally. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll be back.
I have always valued my lifelessness.